Hello YouTube viewer, and welcome back to your regularly scheduled solo run. About a month back, I decided to see if I can beat Generation 2 only using a single Wobbuffet to battle. A task that took a lot longer than I would care to admit. But with Generation 2 behind us, we can now move on to Generation 3. But we're not going to begin our journey with a Wobbuffet this time. Oh no, that would be too easy. Plus, someone has already beat me to it. Now we have a pre-evolution to use and abuse. Wynaut. The downside, it's pretty much a weaker Wobbuffet. But the upside, we have 3 more moves to use and... well, I was gonna say abuse, but really only one of them is somewhat usable. You should all know what this is about by now. And if not, check out my solo run with Wobbuffet. Today, we answer the question, can he beat Pokemon Ruby only use a single Wynaut in battle? Here's a quick rundown of the rules I'll be following throughout this challenge. Feel free to pause if needed. Okay, let's begin. First things first, we need to save Birch from this level 2 Poochyena. Easy enough. Even my 5-year-old daughter could... well, here's something I didn't know about until I started this challenge. I don't even have counter. No, I don't actually learn any of these moves until level 15. This is even worse than starting with a Magikarp. Not only do I have to waste all my PP for Splash before I can attack, I have to waste a PP for Charm and Encore as well. That's 65 wasted turns before I can make a move. So, this is how my journey starts. Being knocked out by a level 2 Poochyena. Oh. It got bored with me and ran off. It's a sad day when level 2 Poochyenas think you're worth its time. Before I can start my journey proper, Professor Birch first wants me to go find his son, who of course challenges me to a battle. Now, if I go in there with all my PP, there is no way I'm going to win. He'll always knock me out before I can waste all my PP. So, I buy as many potions as I can afford and get wasting. 65 moves and 8 potions later, I am ready for my rival. This battle was much easier than I thought it'd be. I was ready to soft reset this battle a few times, but I ended up defeating my rival my first attempt. But I'm not done setting up. I need to get my Wynaut up to level 15 so I can actually use some half-decent moves. I grind up on wild Pokemon until I feel like I'm strong enough to beat the early trainers. Then I waste all the money I gained from them to buy more potions. When I'm not exploring trainers for their money, I'm picking berries. Once I've reached Petalburg Woods, I knock out every Cascoon and Silcoon I can find until I reach level 15. There, I teach it Counter, Mirror Coat, and Safeguard. Destiny Bond is useless in this run, and that's all the moves Wynaut will ever learn. It's not much, but it's better than I had before. And all this only took me 4 hours and 20 minutes. I often ask myself, why am I doing this? My answer? Why not? With all the setup done, I head to Rustboro Gym to challenge Roxanne. I went in spamming Counter first, but much like the Wobbuffet run Crystal, it's hard to predict what move my opponent will use. It might use Harden 6 times in a row, or it may use those 6 turns to attack me. But this time, I have a move that wasn't available to me in Generation 2. Encore. If my opponent uses a move I'm satisfied with, I can Encore it and use that same move again for up to 5 turns. Obviously it's not a perfect strategy, but it's the best I got. I'm able to get through Geodude, but by the time I'm finally able to finish it off, I used almost all my PP for Counter. Nosepass comes out and surprise surprise, I ran out of counters and it knocks me out. Next time I go with the old reliable struggle strategy, but that went even worse. I couldn't even get Geodude down to half health. Counter is clearly the better option here. I just have to hope I don't get crit, and that I'll have enough HP to get past her 2 Pokemon and her 2 potions that Roxanne will definitely use. It takes a few attempts, but I do get the luck I need to get my first badge. After saving this old man's Pico, he gives us a ride to Dewford to give the letter to Steven. But first, Brawly is calling. I try going with Struggle first, but after a couple of bulk ups from Machop, Struggle does next to no damage. My first attempt ends in a definitive defeat. On my next attempt, I go in with Counter. Despite Machop being rich Piranha levels of bulked up, I am easily able to take it out. His last Pokemon is Makuhita, and this one knows Knockoff, a Dark-type move. And if you don't know, all Dark-type moves in Generation 3 are special. Thankfully, I have Mirror Coat for that. Makuhita is on its way to a quick defeat, until Brawly uses a potion like a beta trainer. I didn't have enough HP to knock it out. And this is the tale for my next few attempts. But I kept throwing myself into this battle over and over again until I got the outcome that I knew would come to me. Now we can finally deliver that letter to Steven. He thanks us by giving me a TM that I'll have no use for in this run, other than making me a few extra Pokebucks. But before that, I've been at this for over 9 hours, so I think we're going to take a quick nap on return next destination. After a quick power nap, we head to Slateport City to deliver the goods. Team Magma tries to take the goods away from me, but I'm easily able to defeat them both with Struggle. I think you all get my strategy by now. Much like Wobbuffet, I use Struggle against the weaker trainers. Firstly, these early trainers use whatever move they feel like using. No strategy involved, and the attacking moves they do know do next to no damage, making Counter and Mirror Coat useless. If you don't know by now, Counter and Mirror Coat deal back double the damage that Euromon receives. Counter for physical moves like Normal and Fighting, and Mirror Coat for special moves like Fire and Water. Then there's the stronger AI trainers like my rival, who will usually know and use moves that deal a decent chunk of damage. And with my weak attack stat, Struggle in these situations is laughably weak. In this particular bout, I first try going with Struggle just to see how well I fare. I get through his Nummel, but a pursuit from his Grovyle knocks me out. When I go in with Mirror Coat, I can take out his Grovyle and previously mentioned Nummel, but my HP is too low when Wailmer comes out. Then it starts trolling me with Splash. Not that it matters, as a couple more attacks will take me out. It's almost like my rival knows my strategy, which is pretty scary because at this point in the game, I shouldn't even be able to obtain a Wynaut. It's almost like Game Freak knows I'm messing up the game. At this point, I've grown up against every possible trainer I could possibly face at this point. So I kept throwing myself into this battle until I had enough HP to take all of his attacks and win the bout. The next major battle is against Watson. I started off by going with Mirror Coat, assuming he'll just spam electric attacks against me. I assumed wrong and paid for it, as all of his Pokemon also know Sonic Boom. With all the guesswork I have to do, I decided to go in with Struggle on my next attempt. And surprise surprise, I fared even worse. Wynaut simply just doesn't have the attacking power to make use of this move at his current level. At least, not against stronger Pokemon. With little say in the matter, I once again had to rely on Counter and Mirror Coat. Thankfully, I have Safeguard that protects me against paralysis, and Encore to help eliminate prediction. You'd think this makes things easier, but it doesn't. Whatever happens, I cannot lock his Magnemite or Voltorb into using Sonic Boom. Sonic Boom will always deal 20 points of damage, which isn't too bad on my end. It gives my opponent 40 damage in return, but it'll put them in potion range, giving Encore a chance to end and my Safeguard to fade. I need to hope that whenever he decides to stop spamming Thunder Wave, despite me having a Safeguard up, he'll use one of his other attacking moves. After hours of attempts, I finally get to the point where I have enough HP to battle Watson's Magneton without being one-shotted. It uses Sonic Boom, which thankfully doesn't take down a potion range when countered. I lock it in, eat a couple of hits to finally get my third gym badge. I grab the HM for Rock Smash and teach it to its Zigzagoon. By the way, I will not be abusing Zigzagoon's pickup ability. This is supposed to be a solo run, only using HM users when needed to progress. While the big rule is Wynaut is the only Pokemon allowed in battle, to keep this solo run as authentic as possible, I am not going to be using other Pokemon's abilities to help me out. Playing the game like Wynaut is the only Pokemon available to me. The next big battle is the first encounter against Maxie. And here, I have no choice but going with Struggle. Maxie's first Pokemon is Mariana, a Dark type, and Miracoat, unfortunately, is a Psychic type move, and Psychic type moves have no effect against Dark type Pokemon. I could try and PP stall it, but that would require ridiculous amounts of grinding. That being said, Struggle is almost as bad due to Intimidate cutting my attack. Even worse, Mariana keeps throwing sand in my eyes. It took a lot of fishing, a lot of PP draining, and lots of grinding. But eventually, I was able to get strong enough to just barely defeat Maxie. With Team Magma's plans up in flames, for now, we move on to Flannery for Gym Badge number 4. This one is much easier in comparison to the previous few battles. Flannery spams Overheat, a powerful fire type move, made even more powerful thanks to Sunny Day. It only takes me a couple of attempts to grab my 4th badge. With 4 badges in hand, we are finally allowed to face Norman, our father. I figured with how strong Slacking is, going with Counter would be my best bet. What I forgot to take in was the worst ability in the game, Truant. This god-awful ability is like Charizard in the early Pokemon anime. Attack one turn, then waste a turn napping, picking its nose, or whatever. If I don't pay attention, I can waste several turns trying to counter Snot. Even worse, Norman Slacking knows Encore, using my own strategy against me. All the while I try to figure out whether it's going to use Facade, a normal type move, to which I use Counter, or Feint Attack, a special move, which I use Miracoat. With all this guesswork involved, I decided to try my luck with Struggle. While Struggle doesn't do as much damage as Miracoat or Counter, I am able to get 2 attacks in as opposed to 1, so it does even out in the end. Plus, it gets rid of all the guesswork. With Struggle, I am able to get past his first Slacking before going down to Vigoroth. I could train on wild Pokemon, but at this point, my level is so high, knocking out wild level 20 Pokemon gives me next to nothing. Sadly, I cannot do anything else story-wise until I get Surf, and I cannot get it, let alone use it, until I got my 5th badge. With little choice, I keep rematching until I get the outcome I want. It literally took me almost a week, but eventually, I was able to take Daddy Dearest down, living on just 1 HP. The struggle was real in this bout. After a quick pit stop at the Weather Institute to once again thwart Team Magma's plans, my rival wants to see how far my single Wynaut and I have come. Considering the level gap, I decided to just go in with Struggle and beat on my first try. Not long after that, we reach Fort Tree City, where we go up against Winona for badge number 6. I decide again to go in with Struggle, just to judge how much damage a Pokemon will deal against me, and it's not a lot, so I decide it's best to just stick with Struggle. It takes me a few tries, thanks to her Altaria paralyzing me with Dragon Breath, but compared to Norman, she was a walk in the park, and thus, I grab badge number 6. I head back to Slateport for reasons, where Team Magma steals a submarine so they can get to Groudon. Before I'm able to follow them, I first need to get my next badge. Tate and Liza are double battle experts that refuse to battle you unless you have 2 Pokemon in your party that are able to battle. I know it's kind of bending the rules a bit, but I fish for a Magikarp that only knows Splash. That way I can enter the battle, but unable to attack with it. Don't worry, it gets knocked out right away. Again, I go in with Struggle due to the damage output, but it's hard to say how much damage is being dealt. I actually do better than expected with Struggle, but not nearly enough to be the safer option. I go back in with PP restored. Miracle is clearly the better option, being a 2 to 3 hit KO. I was en route to win, but sadly, I got some bad luck. On this attempt, I get knocked out after a crit, and on my next attempt, Solok burns me and the chip damage takes me out. Thankfully, on my 4th attempt, I was able to avoid all this bad luck and win this 2-on-1 handicap match. While I'm busy basking in Groudon's glory, Maxie challenges me to a match to prove to Groudon that he is worthy of being his master. I sweep the floor with him thanks to him using Swagger on me, as Groudon runs off to expand our landmass. Since Max used the wrong orb to awaken this Titan, it's up to me to put it back to rest. Now, I could run away from this battle like a little sissy baby, but Wynaut is an uber Pokemon, right up there with Groudon. So folks, we are going to have an uber showdown. Groudon's attacks are powerful, but we have Mirror Coat, dealing damage back twofold. In short, we use the stop hitting yourself strategy to knock out Groudon. Ashamed by his loss to a baby, Groudon calms down and goes back to sleep. With the world back in balance, we can now challenge Wallace for Gym Badge number 8. This is a weird matchup. Usually, I would decide against the use of struggle based on the strength of my opponent's team. While Wallace's team does contain some of the best water Pokemon in this generation, he leads with Love Disc, the exact opposite of everything I just said. Even worse, it knows Attract and Sweet Kiss, which can make attacking a real chore. I try going with Counter and Mirror Coat, but I end up taking too much damage by the time its next Pokemon comes out. Sadly, Struggle is a better option here yet again. And while I do say it's better, it's still a chore withering down Wallace's team. Love Disc is easy enough, assuming he doesn't use Attract, but the rest of his team is bulky, and it can hit back just as hard. Even at level 100, I kept facing defeat after defeat. In this battle, I am totally at the mercy of RNG. I need to not get confused by Water Pulse, and not hit myself if that happens. And I need to get crits at crucial moments, or he'll just pop a Hyper Potion or two. This battle would have been a bit easier if I had access to leftovers, but sadly, I cannot get those until post-game, so I have to make do with the Citrus Berry. By the way, the Citrus Berry works slightly differently in this gen than it does in later gens. In Generation 4 and onward, it restores 25% of your max HP. Here, you only recover 30 HP. But even if I get past its first 4 Pokemon, I still need to deal with Milotic. And it doesn't matter if Wallace uses up all his potions at this point, as his Milotic knows Recover. If I do not get a critical hit by the time Milotic is down to half health, he'll just recover and knock me out. Or even worse, I'll knock myself out with Struggle. But I got close a few times, so I knew it was possible. It takes longer than I care to admit, but eventually, I get that crit I need to finish Milotic off and get my final badge. But we're not done yet, as it's time to head off to the Elite Four. But first, Wally wants to challenge me. But he really shouldn't have. Now, with our trials and tribulations behind us, we charge headlong to Evergrande City, where destiny awaits. Me and my gullible little friend are ready for the best Hoenn has to offer. First up is Sydney, who leads with Mariana. Right away, I'm in big trouble as Intimidate cuts my attack. After that, he'll do one of two things to me. One, throw sand in my eyes to lower my accuracy, or two, use Crunch to hit hard. Remember, since Mariana is a Dark-type Pokemon, Psychic-type moves like Mirror Coat do not affect it. So again, I have no choice but to use Struggle with my lowered attack. Is it possible? If I had leftovers, maybe. But as things stand now, not likely. I'm going to cheat here a bit to show what I need to happen in order to defeat Sydney. Firstly, I need Sydney to only use status moves. I might be able to get away being attacked once or twice, but not much more than that. Speaking of attacking, every attack I land must be a crit. With critical hits, it ignores my attack drop, making Struggle a 2-hit KO as opposed to a 5-hit KO. It also makes sure that I never knock his Pokemon down to the full restore range. But at this point in the game, it's highly unlikely the AI will make dumb choices like that. And it's even less likely I'll land 10 critical hits in a row. And that's not even taking into account Absol's Citrus Berry, or that I might get seated by his Cacturne. Now I know some of you might be asking, what are the odds of landing 10 critical hits in a row? Those are the odds. Now, I could hope for dumb AI and hope that Mariana uses Takedown and Counter, but his Cacturne and Shiftry don't know any physical type moves, So I'd be wasting almost 20 turns of wasting my PP so I can struggle again with my weakened attack. But then I run into the same problem with Phoebe and her ghosts. Ghost type moves are all physical in this generation, and counter is a fighting type move. Yep, you guessed it, I'd be unable to use that move and have to go in again with struggle. At least my attack wouldn't be cut, but I still have a lot going against me. Phoebe's first Dusclops knows Curse. If it uses Curse, it's GG. The one for Bayonets knows Will-O-Wisp. Being burned is even worse than Intimidate, as my attack is cut and I lose health. But if Lightning is lucky enough to strike twice, I may have been able to get past her. It isn't until I face Glacia that I'd be safe to use Counter and Mirror Coat. But even with those moves available to me, I still wouldn't be able to win. Her Pokemon just deal too much damage. I need a more reliable way to recover health, and with no leftovers available to me, the best I have is a Citrus Berry, which sadly isn't enough. Struggle wouldn't work either. Her Pokemon are just too bulky. Even if I had everything working for me, for the rules I set for myself, I simply just can't get past her. Sadly, this solo challenge is a failure. A shame too, as we were so close to the end. If I had the leftovers, I might have been able to get to Steven. But alas, this is where our story ends. Unfortunately, but I do want to thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoy what you saw and want to help support the channel during this rough time, please like, share, and subscribe. And with all that being said, I will see you all very soon. Goodbye.